So George, you've mentioned that you've recovered
Yes.
from eating disorders and the range of them that you've experienced. So do you believe that recovery is possible, and how did you recognise that you had recovered?
Yes, recovery is possible. It's a very simple way to put it.
You hear that? It's possible.
Of course it's possible. We're living proof of it. And I've met too many people that, live normal, whatever the hell normal is, lives beyond it. So I know it is absolutely possible. How did I recognise it? During the initial sort of phase of getting treatment, I stopped sort of having eating issues without even realising it. I remember actually 6 months into getting help, and I can still remember the moment like it was yesterday. I couldn't remember the last time I had an eating issue, and I just literally just sort of snuck up on me. Now, at that point, I still had a lot of work to do and a lot of things I needed to deal with. It was probably a couple of years later. I'd gone through a breakup with a long-term partner, and we've all been through breakups. We all know the sort of stress and turmoil it can put you through. And yes, I was upset, and yes, it wasn't easy to go through. But instead of having an eating issue, I did what any normal person does in a breakup. You listen to Taylor Swift, you go hit golf balls, and you move on. Like it's what everyone does. It was a normal sort of breakup sort of experience.
Without you going into previous
episodes of eating issues or any depression or anxiety. It was just a normal quote unquote breakup. And I remember thinking at the time that I'm like, oh, I'm not having any issues from this. And normally I would have been. And I still remember to this day thinking that, okay, I'm going to be okay now. And that was a sort of a light bulb moment for me a couple of years on, that actually this would have been hell for me. And it wasn't. And it's been okay ever since.
So you've got better coping strategies for those things that happen in life where you don't go back to your unhealthy coping strategies, which were diet and exercise related.
Correct. I mean, people think just because you get over a mental illness that suddenly life's smooth sailing. That's not life.
No.
Life's up and down by the minute, let alone by the day or the month or the year. So you're always going to have to cope with ups and downs, but you learn to, I think, cope with it better through whether it be accessing friends. You feel better or more comfortable asking for help than maybe what you would have. You also, I think, learn to recognise before something becomes too major, and you do something about it sooner. Whether it's talking to a friend, whether it's listening to music, go away, whatever it might be. I think you learn to better recognise it and understand how to cope with it, because you're always going to have tough times, whether it be work, relationships, family, whatever. But I think you're in a much more solid place and have a better foundation to be able to cope with those times.
That's great. So what advice would you give to somebody who may be struggling with an ED about making that first step and reaching for help?
First thing I would say is to understand that you don't have to go through this alone. You can get through this, but we all need some help sometimes, and that's okay to ask for it. I would say approach someone that you trust and respect and think can handle that news. Now that could be a GP, it could be a coach, for me it was. It could be a friend, a loved one, it could be Butterfly Foundation, it could be anyone. Whomever you feel comfortable enough talking to about this, do so to that person in an environment, in a way that makes you feel safe and okay. And have as much help and support as you feel you can handle, and make sure that you're comfortable in the way things are going. That may not be telling everyone. It may be telling everyone, but do so in a way that works for you. But just understand that you don't need to go through this. You can recover, and you deserve to recover.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. When you've suffered an eating disorder, you don't feel like you deserve any help.
Correct.
Which stops you from getting help. And the hardest part is to reach out to somebody and say, I need help. But
you're fighting yourself. That's the problem. You're fighting that voice in your head that's telling you you're not good enough, that you don't need help, you need to suck it up.
Or that you don't deserve help.
Or that you don't deserve it. You get all these messages which are all negative.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I once described it as like fighting a 12-round heavyweight battle fought with your hands tied behind your back.
Yeah.
Like it's a brutal fight.
Yeah.
And that's even if you know that you're ill, which for a lot of people early on, like me, I didn't even know I was sick.
No.
So it is a tough battle,
Yeah.
and you need to stack the odds in your favour to try and win this fight.
Yeah. And that means stacking up a whole lot of supportive people around you.
Whatever that works for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Pleasure.